Hey everyone, it's Amanda, and this is another book haul. Yes, and this is from Goodwill, and it's like from 1, 2, 3, 4 Goodwills over like a couple weeks. So yeah, there's a lot of books here, but I justify it by saying it's over a couple of weeks, and it's from a lot of different places, and all of the books were $2 or less. So that's okay, right? Anyway, I'm going to show you what I found. First, I found Gathering Blue by Lois Lowry, and this is the second book in the Giver series, which I didn't know it was a series, but it is. And I don't have the Giver, so I'm going to get it because I wanted to get that one anyway, but this is in really good condition. So once I get the Giver, then I'll read this one, and there's also a third one. So I also got A Night to Remember by Walter Lord, and I believe the movie called A Night to Remember is based on this book. And this book is based on the sinking of the Titanic. I think it's a minute-by-minute account. It's an older book. I think it's from the 50s. Not this particular one, but this original book was written in 1955. And ever since the movie Titanic came out, I was in high school when that came out, I've been really interested in it. It's just quite a story, and so I thought this would be really, really good to read. Then I got Sign Language by Jerry Seinfeld. My husband and I absolutely love that show. We have every episode, and every once in a while we just sit down and watch them. Actually, we were watching some the other night, and this is kind of just like his little thoughts about things, funny things, and some of the stuff we noticed because we did start reading it already on page 21. Some of the stuff is the things that he said in his stand-up routine at the beginning of the show, but it's funny. He's funny. We liked Jerry Seinfeld. Then I got Going for Broke by Melanie Dobson. I think this may be a Christian book, but it sounds super interesting to me. It's about a wife and mother who has a gambling addiction. She starts becoming addicted to gambling, and I could totally see how that could happen because when you play, I've gone to the casino a couple times, and it can be addicting for sure. So I thought this sounded really interesting to see what happens in this book. Then I got Stolen Innocence by Alyssa Wall, and it's my story of growing up in a polygamous sect, becoming a teenage bride, and breaking free of Warren Jeffs. So she was in the Warren Jeffs community, and I actually have this book on my Kindle, but I wanted to grab this one because it does have photographs in the middle, and just interesting. Another culture that's just fascinates me, this polygamous society that is out there. Yeah, sounds interesting. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. Then I got Wide Acre by Philippa Gregory, and I think this may be one of her very first books she ever wrote, but it sounds interesting. I'm not sure if it's a standalone or if it's part of a series, but it's a historical fiction. That's the short story for what this is about, and it's a really, really pretty cover. I also got The Dressmaker by Kate Alcott, and what a beautiful cover that is. And this is another Titanic-themed book, but this is a fictional book about a seamstress who is hired by a famous designer to be her personal maid on the Titanic. And I think it takes place more after they get off the Titanic than while they're on it, from what I gather, but I'm not exactly positive. But it sounds really interesting, and it's such a pretty, pretty cover. I was super excited to find Speak by Lori Halse Anderson, and this is actually the Platinum Edition. So whatever that means, and it had a price tag on it from a yard sale for $3, but apparently nobody bought it because it was at the Goodwill. But it has deckled edges, and it has one of these little flaps, paperback flaps. And I've heard about this book before, but I have not read it, but I wanted to. I think it's about a teenage girl who is going through a really hard time. And so, yeah. I also picked up Blaze by Richard Bachman, aka Stephen King. And I think this may be the very last book he wrote as Richard Bachman. I'm not positive, don't quote me on that. But it sounds interesting. It's about a man named Blaze who is accused of kidnapping a child or something like that. And just because it's a Stephen King book, I grabbed it because I'm interested to read it. And I had never heard of this book before. This was a cover buy, but it also sounds really good. It's called My Wife's Affair by Nancy Woodruff. It's about a woman who moves to London with her husband and her children because he's promoted, and she gets a role in a play and decides to have an affair. And I think that it is, actually I'm pretty sure because I read this, it is narrated by the husband. So this sounds pretty interesting to me. And it's a beautiful book, and it was like in perfect condition, which I love when I find that at Goodwill, and it's really pretty. It's a very pretty book. Then, The Visitation by Frank Peretti, and I've been buying books by Frank Peretti because I want to see what his books are like. He is a Christian author who writes some interesting stuff, what it sounds like. I've not read his books yet, but have several of them now. And this has something to do with, like, these signs are appearing in the sky, and I think it has something to do with Christ's return. I'm not sure, but I'm looking forward to reading it. It's a pretty big, thick book. I also got Riding the Bus with My Sister by Rachel Simon, A True Life Journey. I thought this sounded really interesting. The author has a sister who is mentally challenged, and apparently she rides the bus all day, like every day, and so she decided to start riding the bus with her sister for a year, and it just talks about what they see, and she gets to know a little bit more about her and her world, it sounds like. This book was a movie. I think it was a made-for-TV movie, and it starred Rosie O'Donnell. I think she played the mentally challenged sister. I had never seen that movie, but I remember they were talking about it on TV one time. So I was looking forward to reading this. I think it sounds like it'll be pretty interesting. Then I got this one. I was really excited. The Orphan Chronicles by V.C. Andrews. It's a bind-up of all 4 books. It has Butterfly, Crystal, Brook, and Raven. When the first one came out, which is Butterfly, which is this cover, I bought it. It was like 100 pages. It was pretty short. And I enjoyed it, but I hadn't gone on and read the rest. So this one has all 4 in there. And so I'm looking forward to reading these. The new V.C. Andrews books are just not the same as the original V.C. Andrews books that are actually written by V.C. Andrews. She passed away, and then a ghostwriter took over. So if you want to read genuine V.C. Andrews, you want to read the Flowers in the Attic series or the Heaven series. I think those are the main ones that she actually wrote. I know she also wrote My Sweet Audrina, which I have. I have my, you can't see it, my V.C. Andrews shelf is down here, and I really liked her books when I was in like high school. I read a lot of them, but these ones were pretty good. This one was good, so I'm looking forward to reading all of these. I'm knocking my glasses off my face. Okay, then I got Little Children by Tom Perrotta, and I saw Chapter Stacks got this book, I believe, at a Goodwill. Hers had like the goldfish crackers on it, I think, and mine has chocolate chip cookies, but I know that this book is not all sweet and sugary. I think this book is pretty controversial, or talks about some heavy subjects. I guess it has to do with the neighborhood. two of the people in the neighborhood are having an affair, and then there's like a pedophile that moves into the neighborhood. I remember when the movie came out and people were really talking about it and how disturbing it was, but I had not seen the movie. So I don't know a lot about this book, but I'm looking forward to reading it. I also got Don't Scream by Wendy Corsi Staub, and this book reminds me so much of I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's about this girl who dies in the woods on her birthday, and her 4 sorority sisters make a pledge to never tell a soul. They're taking it to their grave. Then you fast forward 10 years, and they start receiving these birthday cards that say happy birthday to me, and someone knows what they did 10 years ago. So, yeah, that sounds exactly like I Know What You Did Last Summer. I don't think it will be the same kind of story. That's just what it reminded me of. But this book actually has really good ratings on Goodreads, and I've never heard of this author, so I'm looking forward to getting into it. I got Sleep No More by Iris Johansson, and I actually bought this because I thought it was part of my Bonnie Quinn Eve series that I had purchased, because it says an Eve Duncan novel, but it actually is just like a companion, but it sounds interesting. So it has the same woman, that Eve Duncan, who is a sculptor, a forensic sculptor, and so I hope I like this author because now I have several books by her. I was really excited to find this book, Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. We read this book when I was in 8th grade, and it is really, really good. It is about a man with very low IQ, and they decide to do this experiment with him that will potentially raise his IQ, possibly. And they also experiment on a little mouse named Algernon. And the experiment does work. But then, of course, things happen after that. And it was just a really good book. There's also a movie called Charlie about this, with this story, but the movie to me was not that great. But the book was very good. Now, I did read on Goodreads, as I was putting this in, that the book they gave to the elementary, middle school students was edited, and this book is not. Like, they cut out a lot of the more steamy scenes that I had no idea were in there, so I'm interested to read it and see what was not there when I read the book in 8th grade. But I remember I loved that book. Then there is Confessions of a Shopaholic by Sophie Kinsella. I've been trying to get some of her books because I've heard she's a really funny author, and this one sounded really cute and fun. Another author I've been kind of collecting her books is Sarah Dessen, so I got this Lullaby, and yeah. Then I got The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I bought this book when I was in college, and then I started reading it and never finished it. I think it's because it was while I was in college. I was really busy with my schoolwork, just trying to pass my classes, and just could not get into it. I didn't do a lot of reading for fun back then. So I ended up getting rid of it. I think I sold it or donated it, but ended up buying it again because I want to read it now. I have more time on my hands, and I'm older, so it might be better anyway. So, but the funny reason is, the reason I actually bought this book the first time is when I was taking my ACTs, which were like SATs, but it's a different test. I had to take it to get into my program for college. The woman that was like supervising our test was reading this book and seemed like she was really interested in it. So I thought, I should buy that. And then I did. I also got The Wolf Gift by Anne Rice. Has to do with a man and a werewolf, or he becomes a werewolf or something like that. Never read anything by Anne Rice, and I thought this sounded good. I was kind of drawn in by the cover. This one really excites me. I want to read this one pretty soon. It's called In the Woods by Tana French, It won the Edgar Award, which I believe means it's pretty spooky and creepy. And it sounds good. I think it takes place, it takes place in Dublin. And these 3 children go to play in the woods. And a couple hours later, their parents find only one of them. He's clinging to a tree. His shoes are filled with blood, and he remembers nothing about what has just happened. So, pretty creepy and sounds really good. The last book I got at Goodwill is called Ink by Amanda Sun. I've seen this on YouTube several times. This has to do with a girl who moves to Japan with her aunt, I think. And something happens where there are like paintings that come to life. But I did check this one on Goodreads. It does not have the best reviews. So we'll see what I think of it. But that is all of the books that I purchased at Goodwill over a series of weeks from lots of different Goodwills. And I just tend to really find great books at Goodwill. So I can't say it enough. If you love books, you should try out going to a Goodwill and seeing what you can find, because there are times that you will find brand new books for $1 or $2, and it's awesome when that happens. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time with another haul. So bye.